Speed was in Ghana. The American streamer was in Ghana. I'm not sure if you guys joined the feed. Charlie, grown man like me, I tapped into the feed from morning.
For the Korea trend.
Korea.
I swear down.
I think that was a beautiful way to end it.
Hey, you know how this is now booked until March.
They said March, yeah. From now, like I think it happened at the right time because of Valentine's Day and things. People want Korea experience.
Yeah, cash out season.
That's the power of influence.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's the power of influence.
Whoever put them on there is for the
exactly. Yes, all the promos and whatever, but this time it only takes just one moment, and I'm happy for her. She's really tried. She's really tried to make her business.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like the Ghana Football Association missed out on a big opportunity. Speed's prominence and his rise to fame and global influence all stemmed from his association with football. I mean, they call it soccer in the US, but football. And I feel like we missed out on an opportunity to introduce a global icon like Asamoah. I think he should have been part of the itinerary, especially with Ghana coming to the US for the World Cup. It would have been a nice way to sell the Black Stars to the world because we need that support from the entire world. So I feel like we missed out. I'm not sure who's in charge of marketing and publicity over there, but they missed out. I'm not sure. What do you guys think?
Yeah, but the assumption would be we'll think that the Ghana Football Association actually does their job.
What do you mean? Keto Kreku is in the running to become CAF president, or haven't you heard?
Look, the state of our football, the state of how we prepare for tournaments, all points to the fact that we have little to no interest in anything called football.
Oh my goodness. Kelvin, apparently our league is ranked 100, the whole world.
Yeah. So it's even, I was even surprised it was ranked 100. It should go beyond that. But gradually, things are going to change. Adesa Productions, the FA are trying to do their best to make sure that, yes, the league becomes attractive again. And that is all what we are hoping for in the next couple of years. But previously, I think it was terrible. And the reason why we have sunk this low, like I'm saying, I am glad we are 100th and then it didn't go beyond that 100, mark. Yeah, because if
countries like Guatemala, Nicaragua, Panama, they all ranked ahead of Ghana.
It's strange. And it's all because of the simple things that were being done in the past, but are not being done currently. And I just hope that the FA would do it going forward because
honestly, I think the main thing that we've stained the league with the betting scandals. We've stained it so much. And this week, I've seen it in the news. It's all over the betting scandal.
It's not just the betting
scandal.
Real
there. It's happening there.
From the announced expose, this is what happened, and people have just taken advantage of that, and then they are trying to make things murky. And I just hope that the Football Association will just crack the whip.
The interesting thing is that wherever you see Ghana, Nigeria will feature in there. So Ghana is 100, Nigeria strongly at 91. They always move together in tandem. Anyway, enough about Ghana and how much the league in Ghana is failing, beating Ghana and miss the missed opportunity. Kelvin, what do you have for us this week?
Welcome to another episode of the 50-50 Football Podcast, where we bring you the perfect blend of sports, culture, and everything that you need in between. I'm Kelvin Oswans. I'm doing this with Nana Sari and Kwaku Safomenta. Well, it's a packed show for you today. If you've been anywhere near social media this week, yes, we just spoke about Speed, who touched down in Ghana. Yes, the madness that followed and what it says about the power of content creators in the world now. But it's just the appetite because while Speed was causing chaos in Accra, across the pond in Madrid, Jose Mourinho reminded the world why he's still the special one. A brilliant tactical masterclass that had everyone talking, pushing his goalkeeper into the final minutes of the game to make Mourinho another genius. He's never going to fade as a special one. Now, speaking about this European competition, the UEFA Champions League served lots of drama on a platter this week. Upsets, last-minute goals, controversies, you name it. And I can't forget, yes, Noni Madueke with his nonsense. Yes, we got it. and we're analyzing their action and what it means for the knockout stages. Manchester United fans cannot relate, but yes, we'll continue with that. CAF has also swung the hammer. Disciplinary sanctions flying left and right. Absolute mayhem. Pape Thiaw, Ismail Saibari, Ismail Assai, Brahim Ndiaye. The two federations have all been punished. And finally, we are going to touch on a few things with regards to, some surprising transfers that we are expecting later this week. All you need to do is to grab your headphones, settle in, and let's get into it. This is the 50-50 Football Podcast, where we keep it real, very balanced, and most importantly, keep it 50-50.
Bruh, how was your weekend?
Cunha Bruno, Luke Shaw, Cunha Bruno, Luke Shaw,
Everything was terrible,
I still say the last thing you want to hear is Bruno, Doggo, Bruno, Patrick Doggo again, Bruno, Doggo.
Well, I think it should be a good start, Manchester United. I think if Arsenal want a team that can always break them or, tear them apart, it is always going to be Manchester United. The 49-game unbeaten run was not by Manchester United. And in a season where they thought that everything was going to happen for them, Manchester United has stopped it. I'm not even missing out on the A2.
Explain, Taya. You go explain, Taya.
It was quite a terrible thing for Arsenal fans and coward manager in Mikel Arteta. But how did that sink in for you guys? Yes, you're not playing any competitions, but I think the Premier League, this one saved you some goodies.
The way Arsenal fans were so bullish about this fixture, it was funny for me. I was like, do you know what happens when United wear dark kits at the Emirates? It turns into a dance floor. And once again, it danced on your ass.
Everywhere go first Blair. Everywhere go Blair.
The beautiful thing about the whole thing was the way the performance just silenced every argument and every conversation of Arsenal's team beating the 2008 United team, Odegaard being better than Bruno. Like on the pitch, you could just see the gap in in quality between Bruno and Odegaard. Odegaard was young before 60th minute, and Bruno was just pulling the strings, just orchestrating, just like how Bruno does.
That only happened because you have a manager who is a coward.
I thought he's going to take you to the promised land and all, and you're going to lead by 2 goals, so it's going to be 3-1. What happened to those 3 goals?
If there is anyone who has been the heaviest critic of Mikel Arteta, then it's me. I have said it from the time that Arsenal missed out when it wasn't even last season, it was 2 seasons ago. I told Arsenal fans, come on, after the 2022-2023 season performance, what he gave Arsenal in 2023-2024 told me that the manager is not ready to win anything for Arsenal. And in a game that is very tight, you don't need dribblers because Manchester United were compact. You have limited space to dribble. How then do you take on the only player who can make defense splitting passes when you are actually bringing on players who run through the channels and pick up those passes?
Who to make that defense splitting passes?
It was the only person in the Arsenal team who could make that was Odegaard. The rest
Odegaard is not that kind of player.
Oh yes,
I've always said this.
Yes.
Odegaard is a tidy player. He keeps the ball taking over. He keeps the team playing. But he's not that kind of player that would create chance after chance after chance. That is not Odegaard. If Arsenal had Bruno Fernandes in their side, they would have won the league by now.
I think it's the manager's approach and the mentality of Mikel Arteta. And that is what has been fed to, the players. If you watch Odegaard in the 2022-2023 season, like I'm talking about, he was very much direct, going through the middle. But if you look at Arsenal, they go right, left, back to the goalkeeper, back to the defense. And it's crazy to see a team with all this talent playing that way. So it's the manager who is instructed that. And I think there's no other difference from what, Nottingham Forest may play and what Arsenal will play to win games. Exactly. Exactly.
Honestly,
give the ball to Saka and hope. Yeah. What do you think worked for Manchester United? What do you work?
What I think worked for Manchester United, that's an interesting question. I think it's been a phenomenal 2 weeks for Michael Carrick. Stuff of dreams. He probably might have fantasized about it, but it's amazing, and I'm extremely happy for him. What worked for Manchester United was discipline. We were very disciplined on the day. Arsenal started the game very well. First 20 minutes was all Arsenal. They were probing, they were playing with high intensity. I saw what he did, Arteta did. He knew Man United were very direct and were very sharp and quick in the transitions against Manchester City. So what he did was that he asked Declan Rice to stay behind. And so you realize Zubimendi was pushing forward more and Declan Rice stayed behind whenever Arsenal attacked to break up attack. So you notice that in the first 30 minutes or so, Declan Rice broke up a lot of transitions from Man United. He mobbed up a lot of balls from behind. Did that affect Arsenal in attack? Probably because he's an extra body that gets in the box, and because of his physicality, he's always a handful when he gets in the box. And someone like Kobe Mainoo would struggle to handle him, or even Casemiro, even when it comes to physicality, I think Rice is a handful in there. But Arsenal do not go through the middle. That's very interesting. Whether or not it's because Man United played in such a way that we crowded the middle with our two base midfielders plus Bruno dropping in a couple of times, I'm not so sure, but they are always trying to go through the sides. And it just wasn't working for me. When I saw the lineup initially and I saw Gabriel Jesus starting as the attacker, I was worried for Maguire because Gabriel Jesus is the type of striker who runs the channels. He doesn't stay centrally. He's always moving around. He's very, very mobile. So it's always very, very hard to mark him. But funny enough, he tried to play as a target man. And I was like, one, that's not your game. So you don't have the capacity to do that. Big man, you don't have the capacity to do that. And so I saw a video where Maguire basically manhandled him as a schoolboy. He basically carried him as a schoolboy and dropped him off somewhere. And so that also worried Arsenal. And then they later made a change and brought on Gyökeres, who he's more direct, can take the ball. He's strong enough to hold up the play. He can roll a defender and create a goal-scoring chance for himself. But they don't play for him. Arsenal don't play for him. They don't play directly to him. Everything goes through Saka. He barely sniffs the ball, honestly. And let's even talk about the goals. The goals Man United scored versus the goals Arsenal scored.
Yeah.
I think Arsene Wenger summed it up perfectly. Man United goals were based off team chemistry, cohesion, and a pattern, coupled with a bit of individual brilliance. Arsenal's goals were sheer power. If you look at the goals Arsenal scored, particularly the second goal, it was sheer power. We are bulldozing the ball into the box, whether you like it or yes. The second goal didn't even cross the line anyway. But the very first goal, people think it's a gift. I think we made it a gift. In Ghana or in Kumasi, we have something we say, force them to play nonsense. We actually forced them to play nonsense. We had a pressing trigger whereby whenever the balls go to the side, we quickly snap into a pressing mode to win the ball there because the space is constricted. And it's such actions that led to Zubimendi making a faulty pass and Mbeumo capitalizing on that faulty pass to score the goal. We literally forced them to play nonsense over there. Now, when you look at the second and third goals, I ask one question. Where were Arsenal's defensive midfielders? Declan Rice and Zubimendi, where were they? Because we scored all those goals in half spaces. So you look at the goal Cunha scored. Cunha basically drove there. There was nobody there. He had a field day. He had a chance to lift his foot to score. He had the back left, everything. So much space for him.
Problem is, especially with the Dogu goal, Zubimendi as the DM in the screen was waiting for the whistle for a foul, thinking that ball was a handball. But the point is now you have
Kelvin, one thing. Let me interrupt. One thing. Even Zubimendi is not the best ball winner. His best attribute is dictating play, right?
Exactly.
Declan Rice was drawn to the ball. And in a 1-2, you shouldn't follow the ball. You should follow the man. Whenever the best way to stop a 1-2. And this one, Louis van Gaal said it. And he was teaching daily blending.
That space was too big for Mendy to ignore that space.
Totally
and Declan Rice
understand.
was not going to be able to do it alone.
Declan Rice was drawn to the ball. As soon as the first ball was played, he quickly moved to the ball, ignoring the space and the zone in which he was. Dogu's goal. Let's talk about Dogu's goal first, right? The very first pass that was played,
Zubimendi was the closest person who made the interception.
That was the second pass that came to what's his name? The second pass that came to Dogu. Remember, there was an exchange of passes. The very first pass, Declan Rice was drawn to the ball, and my assessment was that he should have special awareness. Be aware of where you are. As soon as you step out of your zone, you create a huge space behind you. It's now Zubimendi versus whoever is there. So they played him out, like Amufa said, intricate passes. He got drawn to the ball, stepped out of his zone, and it was now Zubimendi versus Dogu. Power-wise, Zubimendi cannot match Dogu. and Dogu went and you got the ball. And then a similar action also led to the second goal. So the point I'm trying to make is that United's attack went through the middle, whether by design or we figured it out during the game that the defensive midfielders weren't on song for the day. We went through the middle to create our chances. Even with the chances that were missed in the first half, we still went through the middle. And I'm saying that on the day, Arsenal's defensive midfielders weren't on song. They didn't play well. I've seen a tactical highlight from the Premier League account saying that Sesko's movement drew Gabriel away. It has nothing to do with Sesko's movement drawing Gabriel away. Listen, Sesko... No, let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Gabriel's position was ball side. He was ball side already. He never took a step towards Sesko. He stayed where he was, and as soon as the ball came, he opened his body up to be big to cover the space. Now, your question you should ask yourself is that, where were the defensive midfielders? Your central defense shouldn't be exposed like that too. Ask yourself why Arsenal didn't get those chances against us.
Why do you think he got exposed? Arsenal's weakest link this season, which I think that Carrick got right with his tactics, was to go through the middle. Because if you go down the right and left hand side, unless maybe Miles Lewis Kelly is playing, who is defensively weaker than the rest of the lateral players. If you go through the middle, Zubimendi, just like you mentioned, is not your ideal ball winner. He's not your ideal ball winner. And if you go through Declan Rice, who is now playing more as a CM, box to box, than a DM, he often finds it difficult to even, exemplify his role. Even when he was at West Ham, sincerely, I think that he was still not doing most of, that, ragged play, stopping play.
I agree. Mark Noble was a 6 and he was a 8, and Mark Noble wasn't there. Suchek would come in, and I've always said it time and time again. Rice is a better 8 than a 6. I don't see him better as a good 6.
I don't see any player currently in the Arsenal team that can offer it. So there was a big mistake, just like you mentioned.
Spilt milk.
If it was any other player, he would just commit to the foul. I'm a DM. At that point in time, what do? I just take a yellow card. What happens then? Now Declan Rice takes more responsibility with tackling, but he decided to shy away from it, calling for foul instead. So it's a big problem for Arsenal. If you watch the teams who try to beat Arsenal, they just go through the middle. If you go through the middle, you are likely to force Arsenal. And especially the first goal that broke everything. If Arsenal had gone to the break with a 1-0 lead, it would have been the best for them. I don't think the second half would have been easy for Manchester United like it was, because Zubimendi is supposed to be Arsenal's phase 1 build-up player. And if your phase 1 build-up player does not have the patience to take extra touches and make sure that everyone is safe before making a pass, but decides to, lean back and forcibly make a pass and then gives it away. This is not the first time he's been doing it. He's doing it a couple of times this season. Against Tottenham, he made that mistake. Against other teams.
I'm pretty sure the United coaching team knew about it. That's why he was a press and trigger.
You high press him, he makes mistakes. And that is not what you want from your phase 1 player. And Carrick, who was a phase 1 build-up player, knows that, because he was calmer under pressure, like the Busquets way. They have their way of getting away from pressure. But he just decided to give it away.
You mentioned 2 names, Carrick and Busquets. You know, about 10 years ago, I was arguing with a Barcelona fan that Carrick was better than Busquets.
Every time I said it,
I was arguing so much.
He was never
like,
given
listen, you guys don't respect Carrick. I was like, listen, Carrick is more athletic. He has the control, has the passing range, has the lung capacity to go box to box. I was arguing. I'm pretty sure the person is listening. Chene, wherever you are, shout out to Chene. Shout out to Chene and Kuchi. I was telling them, like, do you know Michael Carrick?
Yeah.
But anyway, spilt milk. We came to the Emirates and we came to dance. I think, if I remember, a couple of years ago, Jesse Lingard went to Millie Rock over there, and now we have Cunha skating on them over there. So good stuff for us. I know this week, Arsenal are going away to Leeds.
Yes, they have no option. Arsenal has no option, and I'm sure Arteta knows. He knows it's a game Arsenal can win. Leeds United, I think it's a game Arsenal should.
Leeds seem to be a team that have turned the corner these days. They won. Yeah, they won a couple of games, even against Fulham. They won. They drew. They went away to Everton to draw over there as well. They've picked up very, very good points, very important points.
games I
won
don't worry
3-1-2
about.
against Chelsea.
There are games I don't worry about this season for Arsenal. Right, it's these bogey sides. That is where Mikel Arteta seems to be struggling at to be getting. He gets the point with the smaller sides, but he's not able to get it over the bigger side. Looking at Liverpool and their form, you'd have expected Arteta to get at least 4 points this season from Liverpool against Manchester United. You won the first game, you were expected to win, the second game, and he just goes off against Chelsea. How did they end that way? Even Chelsea with a man down. So you see, these are the games that previously he used to win them easily, but struggle against the smaller. I think the only team that you were expecting Arsenal to be that they failed was the Nottingham Forest game.
Right.
And they know that in the last 4 matches or 3 games in the Premier League, they haven't been able to win. And with Manchester City closing in 4 points now, Aston Villa also 4 points away from you, you cannot afford to drop any more points. And the confidence from the Champions League resting players should be able to, defeat Leeds United. But I don't know
Interesting
how
stuff.
you think the loss against Manchester United is going to affect us now. Do you see Arsenal bottling the league?
I mean, that's the question I was going to ask you, because now it's 4 points between between Man City and Arsenal. And I've said it that in my lifetime, there hasn't been a better finisher of the league than Manchester City or a Pep Guardiola team. So I really, 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 really worry for Arsenal. But the interesting thing about Manchester City is that they've been poor this season. With all that they've spent from January 2025 to January 2026, they've been so poor. They are not getting the results that I think that they should get, because they basically bought a new starting 11, including Mark Gahey. They just bought this season. So I was like a couple of weeks ago. So I was asking myself, are they trying to buy their way to the title? Are they buying their way to the league trophy once again? That's the question I asked myself. But they've been poor themselves. They've been a pale shadow of themselves, and they are not their imperial self. I struggle to see. I mean, theoretically, there should be a title race at this point, but they are not firing at all cylinders. Manchester City are not firing at all cylinders. They are playing against struggling Tottenham this season. They are going away to Tottenham. I think they should win that game away versus Tottenham. I honestly think they should win that game away versus Tottenham. And it's interesting. Tottenham in the Champions League is different from Tottenham in the league. Have you guys noticed that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Europe is a different style of play and a different pace. So sometimes it suits the Premier League players more in Europe because they are not constantly having to, think quickly and having to make decisions quicker. They have more time on the ball to express themselves. So it's always quite good for them in Europe, especially in the group stages when the teams are slightly inferior to them in terms of the quality of players. So they will always look different in Europe than they would look in the Premier League, because in the Premier League they have little to no time, and every team has good enough players who are aggressive enough, strong enough to also stress you out on their day.
That's interesting, because I think Gordon, the winger at Newcastle, said the same thing. He was interviewed ahead of the game against Paris, Anthony Gordon, and he said the same thing, that the Premier League is more physical and other teams exploit you through other means, so through set pieces, through second balls. But in Europe, teams are there to just try to play the ball, and that was an interesting insight.
The English clubs, yes, they are doing wonderfully well, and they've put themselves in pole position to, getting into Arsenal, Manchester City, Tottenham Hotspur, Liverpool, all getting themselves in a very, very good places. Now, to have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from England in the top 8, all making that progression is quite interesting. But Jose Mourinho,
I was waiting. I was waiting for you to give me the opportunity to hail the special one. I was waiting. I was waiting.
Decision for him to get
Jose Mourinho, forget. The 2 greatest managers of all time, Sir Alex Ferguson, Jose Mourinho. What?
You won't add Pep Guardiola to it?
Please. Checkbook manager, 115 charges. Let him finish dealing with the court. Prosecutors are still sorting through his docket. Let him deal with the courts. Let me speak about my man, Jose Mourinho. If you're able to go and take a team like Porto to win the Champions League, if you're able to beat Real Madrid with Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius, Bellingham, 4 potential Ballon d'Ors in the starting 11, if you're able to beat them with Benfica, with players like Prestiani and players like Araujo in defense, with Pavlidis leading the attack. Oh, come on, Kelvin. This Real Madrid team has 4 potential Ballon d'Ors, so let's not disrespect this Real Madrid team. They have 4 potential Ballon d'Ors.
It's only Mbappe.
Jude Bellingham is a potential Ballon d'Or. Vinicius is a potential Ballon d'Or. Even Rodrigo is a potential Ballon d'Or.
This season, they should forget it.
Mourinho is a master tactician when it comes to one-off games.
It's not when it comes to, that's a lie. That's a lie. It's not when it comes to one-off games. This man has won multiple league titles everywhere he's gone to. So what do you mean by when it comes to one-off games?
I'm just saying
what do you mean when it comes to one-off games?
If it comes to
it's a rhetoric that has been thrown around and it's a lie. It's a lie. You can't say something 1,000 times for it to become true. It's not true.
You don't have to believe it. It's not for you to believe.
No, facts are sacred. You can't throw away conjectures and things and make it seem as though it's true.
What's conjecture have I thrown around?
People go around and say, when it comes to one-off, what? It's not true. It's all nonsense. This man has won multiple league titles wherever he's been to. So what do you mean by when it comes to one-off and this? Now, my friend, he's a legend. He's one of the greatest of all times.
I am making emphasis. You can be a Mourinho sexual, but we cannot. When it comes to
yourselves. We call ourselves Mourinhistas.
When it comes to those finals and one leg games where you need to win to qualify or you need a result to advance into the next game, Mourinho has been bar none one of the best managers in winning those games. He knows how to put together a plan and a tactic and a way of playing to stifle any form of attack. And with the Real Madrid team, especially in their current iteration where they have an interim coach in, and if you watch the game, you realize when this one Adagola was subbed off, he was quite peeved to have been subbed off. I think he always said that it's always him that's being subbed off and stuff like that. Like you can see that there's a bit of attrition in the team. And Mourinho is one of those coaches where he will pick at every advantage.
The beautiful thing I saw yesterday was how Mourinho signaled the goalkeeper, basically with the last kick of the game, signaled the goalkeeper to get into the box. And the delivery from Arsens was perfect. Straight to the forehead of Anatoly Trubin, who nodded the ball straight into goal. So kudos to Mourinho. Mourinho forever. Mourinistas, we are super duper happy. We are waiting for that call in the summer where we'll go back and rebuild, retool, and bring Real Madrid back to the top echelons of European football. So you see us in Madrid.
Well, it's going to be
but Antonio Conte, no. We can't spare Antonio Conte. We can't spare Antonio Conte.
It was the one I was coming to.
We can't spare Antonio Conte.
Why
First
won't you
of all,
spare?
no, it's inexplicable to not qualify as part of the top 24 with the Napoli team. It's inexplicable for teams like Monaco, for teams like Club Brugge, for teams like Atalanta in his own native Italy to qualify ahead of him. For teams like Bodo Glimt and Benfica to qualify ahead of him, it's inexplicable. It's inexplicable. And he had one job to do, beat Chelsea with a rookie manager playing in his very first UCL game. I stand to be corrected on that. At the Diego Maradona Stadium, he had all to play. Like, everything was in his favor. He had Lukaku back, who came on in the second half of the game. And I asked myself, how do you find a way to conspire against yourself to lose this game? How?
I am actually shocked that you're asking that question.
Tell me.
If you know Antonio Conte well, you know that he has for the caliber of coach we think he is, he has a very poor European record. He's played 50 matches in Europe across Juventus, Chelsea, Inter Milan, Tottenham, and Napoli. And he's only won 17 of them. That is not a manager that often qualifies and goes deep into the Champions League. He just doesn't have it when it comes to the Champions League. He just doesn't have it.
So the thing is, we're not even asking you to go deep and go and win it all, but qualify as part of the top 24 teams.
Yeah, he doesn't have it.
That's qualify as part of the 20. And you see, when you say it this way, it's like you're giving him a pass. When it comes to the Champions League, he's not good at it.
I'm not giving him a pass. He's just
I'm going to make
as part of a manager, we cannot accept this.
Exactly. And I want to make a bold statement. He can't claim to be one of the best ever Italian coaches. He can't. He can't sit at the same table as Arrigo Sacchi, as Ancelotti, as Giovanni Trapattoni, as Marcello Lippi. He can't sit at the same table as these.
And I wouldn't put him there. Those who put him there are those
I don't even think he can sit at the same table as Maximiliano Allegri. I really don't, because Allegri has played in 2 finals.
We can't put him there, honestly. But those who put him there, they do it at their own peril. For me, if you are as good a manager as advertised, you just don't win in your league. You win in your league, the domestic cups, and you win in Europe. That is what will tell us that you are that caliber of manager. If you only win in your league and you can't translate those wins in Europe, then you aren't tactically superior to anyone. And you might just be an okay manager, and that's fine.
Exactly. Is that bad? He needs to better his game. And I don't understand why Spalletti took over Juventus and he's actually given them the result in the Serie A and also in the Champions League. So you can't just tell me that, as for Antonio Conte, he's not.
Let's not give him a pass.
No, that's bad. That's terrible. But he's the same person who will come and fight around himself. But we know that, yes, the UEFA Champions League will be going on. We'll be looking at, the possible draw options that would happen. And we know that, yes, there could be a replay of the Real Madrid Benfica game. Yes, Real Madrid Benfica could happen. Do you think Mourinho is going to...
Kelvin, right now, Mourinho's on a tour. He's beating his boys. Arbeloa is one of his boys. Xabi Alonso was one of his boys. So before, on the way to the Europa League final, he actually beat Leverkusen. They won 1-0 over both legs. So let me put it that way. They won 1-0 over both legs. So he finished with him, and now he's done with Arbeloa. I want him to have the opportunity to go back to Inter, where he plays Christian Kivu, whom he made a European champion. Remember that Inter team, it was a bunch of failed professionals who had gone elsewhere to fail. So Lucio had failed at Bayern, Christian Kivu had failed at Real Madrid, so was Walter Samuel, and we can get into that conversation later. But Christian Kivu is now the manager of Inter, and I know that the choice for Benfica in the knockout round is between Inter Milan and Real Madrid. So I really hope that he gets a chance to go back to Italy and play Inter over 2 legs. Also, for my own selfish reasons, I think it would be easier to beat Inter over 2 legs than to beat Real Madrid, because Real Madrid in the knockout stages of the Champions League at the Bernabeu, they're a different beast. That's when the Angels will come and play. Alfredo Di Stefano and the rest will come and play. So you'll be playing 11 versus 26. So no, they should go and play. I hope they play Inter instead.
Okay. So, yes, if you look at, the other options, Real Madrid or Inter could play Bodo Glimt or Benfica. There is PSG. Then Newcastle, they could play Monaco, Karabakh, FK. There is Juventus or Atleti who could play Club Brugge or Galatasaray. And then Atalanta or Bayer Leverkusen could be playing Dortmund or Olympiacos. Well, there are a few transfer talks that I want to quickly switch to. But before then, we spoke about the African Nations Cup, the mayhem in the final, and the decisions were made earlier, and announced earlier this morning by CAF. And from all indications, Paquetá, 5 matches ban, but he won't serve his only CAF organized competitions. And then he's fined 100,000. Barry also with 3 games and the 100,000. Ashraf Hakimi 2 games, and also some 15,000 to pay. And then the 2 federations have all been fined. When you look at the Senegal paying a total of $615,000, and then Morocco paying $315,000. But I think that one thing that I was so concerned about with is the misbehavior of the fans and the stewards. I think that there should have been a stadium ban for either team. Senegal's fans for their misbehavior, and Morocco also for, the stewards and the fans' misbehavior and stealing away the towels, and then, all those gadgets, the use of the lasers. Even though they were punished financially, I think that it should have been more. What do you think, guys?
I mean, it's hard to give Senegal a stadium ban because they didn't host the game. I mean, they were the away fans, right? So it's hard to give them. Yeah, I totally understand. Like, you can find a team, but to give them a stadium ban, they aren't the hosts. You get it? So I'm not a lawyer. I'm not in charge of disciplinary issues in any federation, but for all the decisions I've heard in the past, the away team doesn't suffer a home ban oftentimes, right? The home team rather suffers the home ban. But I'm very happy CAF have been swift. I mean, it's been barely a month since we played the final, and they've been swift to crack the whip. They've sanctioned fines, but Paquetá will be smiling to the bank. Honestly, he'll be smiling to the bank. No one would remember these fines at the end of the day. People will always remember that they've been champions. And as I said, Takashi won on the day. evil met evil and evil won. Senegal fans won't be worried. The Senegalese would be very okay with what has happened, especially with the fact that it doesn't affect the World Cup. So I'm very, very happy for the Senegalese.
Very much happy with the outcome. Now let's quickly get this out of the way. I think this is for Ghana ahead of the World Cup. Yes, some players are performing, others are injured and all that. But Villarreal's coach, he made a criticism of Thomas Partey, saying that there is a world of difference between the Partey they knew at Arsenal and the Partey they currently have, and it's difficult to play at this pace in today's football. Should Ghana be worried about Thomas Partey going into the World Cup?
Honestly, to be honest with you, see, I've been talking about this offline, and I think it's the allegations, the court issues he's battling, and how much his world has changed since then. This was someone who was basically the best defensive midfielder in the English Premier League, the best league in the world last year. All of a sudden, he loses everything. He goes to Villarreal. I think he's on £60,000 a week at Villarreal. So he's lost more than 70% of what he used to earn. About 70% of what he used to earn, he's lost it now, right, at Villarreal. And coupled with the fact that now he also has, litigation issues. He's in court. The case is not, it hasn't been quashed. He still goes to court. It's just been adjourned to, I think, August or something of that sort. So I think it's really, really, really affected him, because there is no reason why someone like Danny Parry in 2026 should be playing ahead of Thomas Partey, who just came from Arsenal. He was Arsenal's undisputed number one in midfield. First name in midfield, Thomas Partey, Declan Rice. That was it. He actually bought the midfield against Real Madrid just last season in the UEFA Champions League. So personally, I agree with the manager. He's been a pill shadow of himself, and I attribute it to the fact that the huge change that has gone on in his life. The litigation issues, the allegations against him, and then the change. I think he didn't even have suitors at the end of the day. He perhaps thought that he would have suitors owing to the level of performance he had last season, but perhaps he didn't even have any suitors at all. And so I think it's really, really hurt him, and he's been a pill shadow of himself to the fact that Danny Parry, who plays ahead of him, and so the midfield pair for Villarreal now is Paquetá and Danny Parry. So Ghana, we should be worried. We should be worried because now our other central midfielder, Kwesi Sibol, is also on the bench at Oviedo. He's not a starter anymore. Ibrahim Sulemana doesn't play. I think the only consistent midfielder we have now will be Kalebi Yonchi. He seems to play Owusu as well. So that's a concern. I think we can dive deeper into that when we begin our build up to the World Cup.
Sure. We'll be doing that. These are very much genuine concerns, and we just hope that our players get it, because when we've seen the likes of Ashimeru and the others going there, Kudus is also not fit. The only player who seems to be playing so well and then very much fit and ready, Antoine Semenyo, Mike Jordan, I knew, yes, with his experience, that Abdul Fattah is here. We just hope that they will be injury free. But before we call it a wrap, Paquetá is moving from England to Brazil again. This is a player I would have loved so much to see. Maybe at Manchester City, at Arsenal, maybe at Liverpool, maybe at Manchester United, at Tottenham Hotspur. He's going back to Brazil. I don't think this is fair to the Premier League. And what do you think might have accounted in him making this decision, especially under a manager like Nuno Espirito Santo?
I think it's all the legal issues he's had with the betting scandals, and I think he's not finding it easy trying to extricate himself, and they're constantly looking to link him with all the several betting scandals that he's been linked to. So I think he just finds it easier to just go back to Brazil, where he will have less stress and less legal issues. Honestly, the time to have moved to Manchester City came, and that's when the legal issue started. So he missed the boat on that one. And outside of that, it will be very difficult for any Premier League team, especially one in the upper echelons, to drop money on you when there is a possibility of you being suspended for several games, if not seasons, because of a betting scandal. They can't throw good money after bad.
That man planned his retirement too. He planned his retirement. He planned to retire for very early. You see the way regular people like you and I, we pray to God that we can retire at 40 like John D. Rockefeller did, and then, have this bowl of riches, a pot of gold at the end of the day for us. That man planned his retirement too. All the betting scandals, Charlie, he had these people in the hometown creating his retirement for him. He's ready to go back home. Because ask yourself, why? What is the reason? What is the reason? Is he being pushed away by West Ham because of wages? I doubt it. So why? In fact, West Ham probably even need him more now because they are trying to stay in the league. But anyway, That's on the lighter note. That's on the lighter note. It's one of those inexplicable things that happen in football that you just can't wrap your head around. You don't know why. You don't know how it come. But football is a strange sport anyway.
Football is quite a strange sport. Before I'll give you your final remarks, what do you guys make of this weekend? Are we seeing Manchester United with another victory? Is it going to be Pep Guardiola? One thing you guys are forgetting is Guardiola is still in 4 competitions. Though. He's still in 4 competitions. He's still in 4 competitions.
Busy for nothing.
That is crazy. It's Manchester United beating Fulham on Sunday, and Tottenham Hotspur Manchester City. Coach Thomas Frank applied the brakes on City again for us now to take advantage.
One team that has always, in recent years, they've always been a thorn in Manchester City's flesh has been Tottenham Hotspur. Almost every new manager that has come in at Tottenham Hotspur has beaten Pep Guardiola. So Mourinho beat him. Nuno Espirito Santo came in, he beat him. Antonio came in, he beat him. I think it was only last season that they lost to Ange Postecoglou. I'm not so sure of the result last season. But it's been one of those tricky fixtures for Pep Guardiola. But for this upcoming game, I strongly believe that Man City would go and pick a win. It hasn't been a fortress, really. It really hasn't been a fortress, and they haven't been in periods. They've lost their most creative player in Mohamed Kudus, who has 5 assists in the Premier League. They haven't got a clue as to how to prevent goals. They are always conceding goals, which is strange because of the central defensive pair that they have. I thought they would be more solid in defense. I expect Manchester City to go there and beat them, especially with players like Semenyo in the side, with Haaland. Haaland has blanked for a couple of weeks now. It's time for him to step it back up and score. I expect Manchester City to go out there. The worst results I foresee coming in for Manchester City would be a draw. And then don't forget that, I don't know, Anslot, does he hate us, Liverpool? I have a question for you guys before we go. Does he hate his team or something?
Listen, he wants them to finish this year without any trophy and also maybe finish out of Champions League slot, because
honestly, I feel he hates them all because whenever he gets the chance in front of a microphone or in front of a camera behind a microphone, he has to throw shots at them. The least chance he gets, even if no matter what he's saying, he will have to throw in shade at his own club. And I'm like, nigga.
I love it when there's turmoil in the enemy's camp.
Yeah, finish up with this Manchester United Fulham. Fulham is one of those tricky sides, when you play against and you deal with. Are we seeing a 3-3?
Yes. Like I said last week, I told you that the bigger games, I don't mind those games because I know United will be up for them. But this is the kind of fixtures that is going to actually determine whether this Manchester United team has turned a corner or not. These are the games where we are not expected to kind of be compact and, concede possession and then hit on the counter. These are the games where we are expected to dominate. And Manchester United, oddly enough, have a good record against Fulham, but just was it last season or this season that they lost to Fulham? But they have a good record winning against Fulham. So I expect them, just because of how well they played in the 2 games, not in the typical sit back, defend and catch them on the counter, but they played with some tactical foresight that you felt like even though they weren't with possession, they dictated the game in the way they played. And I believe they'll be able to turn over Fulham on Sunday. The problem they really have to worry about is Harry Wilson, because he seems to be hitting them from everywhere and it's going in. So if they can keep him quiet and Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes and Cunha can do what they do, then United should be able to turn them over. I predict about 3-0 win for United.
Hey, Charlie, don't mind your confidence. Count. Hey, Chukwueze, I leave this for you. Come on, Chukwueze, Calvin Bassey. This match is your match, I beg. Yes, do it for me. Any final words? Any final thoughts for you?
Just a few shout-outs to Benjamin Toto, engineer Toto. He's the only one that predicted United were going to score 3 goals. Funny enough, he's not even a United fan. He messaged me a day to the game and he was like, United would score 3 goals. And I was like, Benjamin, flesh and blood didn't reveal this to you. Truly to his words, we actually rocked up to the Emirates and we scored 3 goals. So shout out to Benjamin Toto. And then happy birthday to Dr. Alberto Parry Obonto. He's in Richmond, Virginia. Big aficionado of our show. So shout outs to him and shouts to Sizzle and Spice in Ghana. Derek, shouts to Sizzle and Spice. They have the best food in Ghana. So you owe us a whole package, the entire crew, sizzle and spice. Anyway, so that's those are my last words. Hopefully we come back next week.
Where are they located so I can catch up? Yeah.
I think for now they do this thing. They deliver only. I'm not so sure, but yeah.
Okay.
Sizzle and spice. Shouts to you guys.
Oh yeah, however, I'm sure you don't know.
Mataman give the shout out. But I have one thing that I would like to say, especially concerning Arsenal. I think Arteta is playing with a timidity that is very uncharacteristic about with a title-winning team. And if he really wants to win this title, I believe he should put his best attacking players on the pitch and allow them to play to the best of their ability instead of putting their handbrake on and trying to just bore every team to death to the Premier League title.
Give Oliver Glasner this Arsenal team, and he's going to work wonders with it. Well, that is it all. You've had it. Yes, from another episode of the 50-50 podcast in the books. We covered it all from IShow speed to what is happening in the Premier League. This is the 50-50 football podcast. We bring the balance and you bring the passion to it. So here's what you need to do. If you enjoyed today's episode, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment letting us know what topic you got hyped the most. Help us grow the 50-50 football podcast family. You can catch us on all your favorite podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get to, TikTok, on X. My name is Kelvin Olsons, and I did this with Nana Asari and Kweku Safomensa. Until next time, keep it 50-50, keep it real,